Elon Musk is well known for his innovative use of technology. Since he was young, he's had an insatiable need to push the boundaries of what's considered impossible. He invented online payment with PayPal, launched the electric vehicle market with Tesla, and basically invented the private space sector with SpaceX. However, you may be unaware of his most recent and enormous achievement. For as long as Elon Musk has been outspoken about his desire to colonize Mars, he has been working feverishly on his Starship rocket, a large next-generation rocket that he hopes would one day transport humans from Earth to the Moon and, ultimately, to Mars. And now, he has finally revealed its jaw-dropping successor, Starship 2.0, a much larger and better rocket. What are the new and improved features of this new version, and how would it help with Mars colonization? The shortest distance between Earth and Mars is 33.9 million miles, and Elon Musk plans to send more than 1 million people there by 2050. He estimated that it would take up to 1 million tons of material from Earth to get the colony to a self-sufficient state. This would be too expensive, so Elon Musk has been tasked with devising a cost-efficient yet effective method of transporting humans between planets. That's when we got wind of Starship 1.0. Elon Musk's SpaceX Super Heavy Starship 1.0 will be able to launch 100 tons into orbit and be totally reusable, but the Starship 2.0 will be 4 to 8 times larger. Let's have a look at Starship 1.0 to get an idea of just how massive Starship 2.0 is going to be. Starship 1.0 is taller than the Statue of Liberty at over 400 feet when the Super Heavy rocket booster is attached. The Saturn V rocket, which took American men to the moon during NASA's Apollo mission, is dwarfed by it. Stainless steel alloy has been used in the construction of the massive rocket since 2019. The diameter of the Starship is 30 feet, making it broader than any other orbital spacecraft and allowing it to carry massive cargo, giant celestial observatories, or even a big number of passengers. The Starship is more powerful than any known rocket in human history when it comes to power. Starship rides atop a 69-meter-tall rocket booster named Super Heavy to reach space. After passing through the rigors of Earth's atmosphere, the two halves of the spaceship would separate near the edge of space. The Super Heavy booster that propelled Starship into space would return to its launch pad as it headed toward orbit. To softly land a rocket, a gigantic tower outfitted with artificial arms dubbed chopsticks by Elon Musk will try to capture it as it descends. Since Super Heavy B4 only has 29 Raptor V1 engines, future versions of the rocket booster B7 will use up to 33 Raptor V2 engines to increase the Starship's engine-related capabilities. The Starship 1.0, an expendable rocket, is capable of carrying up to 250 tons of payload into space. The Starship 1.0, on the other hand, could only carry about 150 tons of cargo if it were a fully reusable rocket. A gigantic ship like that is required to serve as a reusable colony van as well as a space liner to transport passengers and cargo back and forth. However, when it comes to the bulk of the payload required to construct a self-sufficient community on Mars, Starship 1.0 falls short. In the next generation of Starships, dubbed Starship 2.0, Elon Musk claims that they will be twice as large as the spaceships that will carry people and cargo to the Moon and Mars. Instead of being 9 meters in diameter, the Starship version 2.0 will be 18 meters. A Starship 2.0 with these dimensions would stand at 240 meters, 775 feet high, and 18 meters, 60 feet wide. In terms of size, this would be the widest rocket ever built. Starship 1.0's cross-sectional area would be quadrupled, and its volume would be quadrupled. For the ultra-heavy Starship 2.0, the engines would be updated. It's possible that this rocket may carry roughly 1,000 tons of payload each time it launches. 8 times as much surface area and 8 times as much propellant tank volume are required for a Spaceship 2.0, which would need around 8 times as much thrust and make the vehicle 8 times as heavy as Starship 1.0. So, assuming that orbital refueling is an option, the next generation of SpaceX Super Heavy rockets may carry payloads of 800,000 kilograms, 1.764 million pounds, or more to low Earth orbit (LEO), the Moon and Mars. That equates to around 800 metric tons of material, 881 US tons. To be able to launch a rocket this enormous, of course, we're talking about the powerful Starship 2.0, Elon Musk obviously needs a lot of power in his vehicles. This rocket would require around 60 Raptor 1.0 engines to take off. Fortunately, Elon Musk has been working on the Raptor 2.0, a more powerful engine. Almost every component of the Raptor V2 engine was reworked to be more compact and easier to construct in order to decrease production costs and time. In a recent interview, Elon Musk stated that V2 is much more reliable and more powerful than the previous model, version 1.5. Raptor's maximum thrust was also increased by 25%, bringing it to 230 tons of thrust at sea level. SpaceX SN811 and SN15's version 1.5 engines, on the other hand, produce 185 tons, about 410,000 pound-feet of thrust. As a result, the Raptor 2 engine would allow the Starship 2.0 to take off with fewer than 60 engines. SpaceX had a 12-meter diameter ITS rocket design in 2016. It was capable of launching 300 tons into orbit and 450 tons to Mars after a refueling mission is completed. The ITS had a payload 3 times more than the present Starship Super Heavy. The 80-meter Starship 2.0 would carry 9 times the payload of the Starship if scaling was the same. We shouldn't be surprised. This is an Elon Musk invention. He gets bigger and better with new versions. The 240-meter rocket would be twice the height of the Statue of Liberty and around 75% the height of the Eiffel Tower. During a debate with Jeff Bezos over the Artemis contract, Elon Musk stated that refueling a Starship for lunar landings would take 10 launches, or else there would be insufficient fuel to get there, and a crewed flight to Mars would become 100 times more complicated, which Jeff Bezos described as a high-risk endeavor. However, a larger spacecraft 2.0 that can supply all the fuel will make things a whole lot easier. In addition, due to the Starship's size, it will be able to remain a fortress for a long period until all the amenities that will serve the lives of 100 volunteers to first set on Mars can be completed. Another rationale for such a monstrous Starship could be that Mars requires 600-ton payloads that are difficult to break into 150 tons. In the end, if the Martian colony is to be self-sufficient, they will need to avoid manual labor due to the harsh climatic conditions on Mars. Iron ore excavators, civil aircraft, and steel mills with large cauldrons and rolling mills will be required. It's likely that the 9-meter payload bay diameter would be a problem for some of the items that the Mars colony may require in the future, but the 80-meter Starship 2.0 would be a better option and would fare better. SpaceX's Starship 2.0's big cargo may then be used to launch factories and advanced manufacturing systems anywhere, and most significantly, Elon Musk will be able to achieve his plans for Mars much faster with this larger and more powerful rocket. The ability of the powerful Starship to lift more cargo per trip will reduce the number of trips required to deliver the supplies needed by colonizers. Starship 2.0's economics must also be taken into account. You don't just build a massive rocket because you have a few billion on hand. Elon Musk said that full reusability and efficient propellant utilization would reduce the cost of each Starship 1.0 launch to just $2 million. However, one trip on the Starship 2.0 is equivalent to 8 trips on the Starship 1.0. The cost of launching the Starship 2.0 is anticipated to be $8.4 million, which includes $7.2 million for fuel and $1.2 million for support operations. If you were to carry out 8 launches of Starship 1.0, it would cost an estimated total of $16 million. Alternatively, the cost of Starship 2.0 will be roughly the same cost as the cost of Starship 1.0. However, every batch of passengers aboard Starship 2.0 will increase in size from the initial 100 to a total of 1,000 passengers. On that note, the spaceship is approaching its orbital debut. As part of its preparations for Starship's critical first orbital launch, SpaceX has been sending its improved Raptor V2 engines to Starbase. SpaceX's next major accomplishment will be the liftoff of Starship. Let us know what you think of this futuristic SpaceX Starship 2.0 in the comments section below.